Have you ever been so desperate for love that you would risk it all just for a shot at happiness?
Yes! Yes!
Well, that's exactly what David does in a dystopian future where single people are forced to go through a 45-day journey to find love. If you don't, well, you turn into the animal of your choice. So what's your favorite animal? While I may give you my opinion on the film here, that's no substitute for experiencing it yourself. Links to the movie are in the description as well. For a film that doesn't give you much context to start with, there sure is a long scene of a random woman driving without any hint of what she's doing, and she's just shot a donkey. Jump to the title screen. And now we come to a familiar face just sitting on his couch staring at his dog. Interestingly enough, Colin Farrell gained 40 pounds just for this role.
He decided that his brown leather shoes were the best pair to wear.
And I'm sorry, is Rachel Weisz narrating the journey from the couch to the bus like this is the most epic film to date? Well, it's Rachel Weisz, so this narration is now my new favorite part of the movie. David sits at a desk and answers a rather peculiar questionnaire.
However, I had one homosexual experience in the past, in college. Is there a bisexual option available?
I'm afraid you have to decide right now if you want to be registered as a homosexual or a heterosexual.
I think I should be registered as a heterosexual.
It turns out that when he is asked about the dog he brings with him, he says that it's actually his brother. Makes it a little concerning that he has literally dragged this dog through every bit of his journey. Who would want to go to be tethered to their brother while stripping down? Speaking of, it literally jumps over to a shot of David and his dog brother standing in his underwear in a damp room. This poor brother.
His first day was one he'd never forget.
Rachel Weisz continues narrating David's experience walking around the room. A dreary ambience is set as the monotony of his wardrobe makes you wonder if the future is better or worse. Outside of his window, there's a line of bodies on the street with people standing over them with tranquilizer guns. They're the loners that tried to run at the end of their program. This movie has quickly turned into a horror movie for any perpetual loners out there. While David takes a nap, the hotel manager and 3 others simply barge into his room. She's the one that explains that he'll turn into his animal of choice if he fails to find a compatible partner by the end of his stay. She says he must choose someone who has also chosen a compatible animal. All of a sudden, the ideas of these different species mingling floods the mind. Not very enjoyable, or maybe it is, I can't even tell anymore. But go figure that David, the interesting being that he is, chooses a lobster. A lobster! What are the chances that some other random woman got brought to this hotel and just said, "I want to be a crustacean"? Next, we meet Robert and John, and the 3 take a stroll to discuss the interesting qualities that make them unique. These 3 are actually the only named characters in the entire movie. While this film may be built on an interesting idea, I have to admit that I'm honestly breezing through this film with about as much gusto as the hotel manager does during the dinner show. Any little development feels like a monumental moment, which definitely emphasizes how awesome our main character is. Still rooting for him. David finally takes a leap and asks one of the younger girls to a dance where she gets a nosebleed. So I'm gonna call her Nosebleed Girl since we don't find out her actual name. She proceeds to give David a detailed list of ways to remove blood from clothing. If that's not a red flag for a serial killer, then I don't know what is. The next day, all of the single residents are given tranquilizer guns and set out into the forest. A slow montage of them shooting and hunting down loner runners shows you how the people came to be lined up in the beginning of the film. As they're hunting the people, you see animals run away from them as well. Are these real animals? Are these loners that ran out of time? Are there any real animals left in the area? It turns out that the more bodies you bring back from the forest, the more days they add onto your time at the hotel. David has not been able to bring any bodies in, and he seems to be a little hesitant towards the whole process. The whole next day, a series of sexual rules and experiments are shown. Robert is caught pleasuring himself at some point, and as a punishment, they stick his hand in a toaster while he's trying to eat his breakfast. If that isn't a proper way to curb temptation, then I don't know what is. After what seems like a depressing string of comments on how life will be after they're left as single animals, one of the most epic brawls you'll ever see in your life ensues. For only having one good hand left, Robert held his own quite well if you ask me. Later, John and Nosebleed Girl give each other fun facts about different strokes in swimming. Again, this has got to be one of the most exhilarating encounters throughout the whole movie. I'm kidding, of course, but somehow this style is just working for the film. At least we know that romance isn't dead in the dreary future. Anyways, later that night, John visits David and we find out that John is faking his nosebleeds so that he has a connection with Nosebleed Girl. Honestly, if I had to fake a nosebleed to keep from being turned into a lonely animal for the rest of my life, I'd bang my head on every table I ever saw. As the days start to run out for the single people, drastic measures are taken. Nosebleed Girl's best friend runs out of time and is turned into a miniature pony. Another woman decides it will be better to be dead instead of turning into an animal. She jumps from her room window, but it doesn't kill her. As she lies there screaming, David takes this time to force a conversation with a potential partner. Mr. Smooth Operator over here is obviously running out of time, so I'd make a last attempt at fake love too. Over the screams of a woman that just jumped out of her window, not so much then, but anything is better than being turned into a lobster. This same woman later pretends to choke on an olive to see if David will save her. As he lets her pretend to die, she comes to and they decide that they're a good match. That's lucky for him, seeing how he was almost out of time too. Once they graduate to the couple's portion of their stay, he runs into his friend John. While the two couples meet, we find out that John and Nosebleed Girl have been assigned a daughter. How does David react? David has to show his heartfulness matches his new partner. The absolute last thing I expected to see in this movie is Colin Farrell kicking a little girl in her shin. The sound of the thump literally made me spit my drink laughing. The next morning, David's companion is standing over him as he wakes up, and she tells him that she has killed his brother. As David gives her no reaction, he tries to sink away to the bathroom where he sees the dog lying on the floor. Of course, this is just another test. What's the animal no one wants to be? I already thought he picked that. What's worse than a lobster? Well, we may never know because David sucker punches her in the gut. Seriously, if I'd known that this was a film about Colin Farrell sucker punching and shin kicking people, I would have had different expectations for this movie. Now I'm pleasantly surprised. After he runs away from her, a chase ensues that ends with him tranquilizing her. He seriously picked the wrong person to get mad. She literally feels like the Amish Terminator was set loose on him. Look at her, she almost refused to go down. With the help of the housekeeper, he takes his partner to the room where they turn people into animals, and he turns her into an animal. Why is the housekeeper helping him? I don't know, what animal did he turn her into? I have no clue. I'd imagine a lobster if he wanted to punish her. I'm figuring out it's best not to ask questions until later. David makes his way to the forest and he keeps running until he decides to take a nap. Then he wakes up and he's being walked towards other loners. He finds out that there's a whole group of loners and now he is one of them. Enter Rachel Weisz. The woman who has been narrating throughout is finally here, and it turns out it's against the loner rules for them to flirt. David just can't win in either world. Now, Robert stumbles upon David while he's out hunting for loners with his tranquilizer. I laughed here too because the intensity of the music mixed with John C. Reilly's face, who wouldn't laugh? David tries to explain his side of things for what happened with his partner that killed his brother. This keeps him talking long enough for Rachel Weisz to come sneaking up behind Robert and shiv him behind his knee. You just feel bad for Robert at this point. Now, David, Rachel, and two others are dressed in business attire and walking throughout the city as though nothing has happened. As they shop for supplies for the camp, David witnesses the police questioning a random civilian about whether she's a loner. It was nice to see a bit of the real world in this seemingly isolated world. After their trip to the city, David realizes that he has a lot in common with Rachel's character. While flirting is prohibited, the two continue with friendly conversation that helps connect the two. The loners set out to the hotel to infiltrate specific people in their rooms. David takes John and Nosebleed Girl. What? Is he gonna kick their daughter in the shin again? When he confronts the couple, he tells John's partner that he's been lying about the nosebleeds the whole time. He explains that the two of them really aren't compatible. And who's listening this whole time? Oh yeah, the same daughter who probably has a permanent limp now. And what does she do? She didn't forget about him, and she's out for blood. As this is going on, Rachel and the two people who run the loner camp break into the manager's bedroom and put her husband to the test. They give him a gun and tell him to shoot the manager if he could live without her. Obviously, without hesitation, he pulls the trigger only to find out that it's empty. Why did they risk everything to prove a point? Again, I just shouldn't ask about this film. As a celebration, everyone listens to their CD Walkman and vibes to techno music, obviously. This is my kind of party for sure. As a way to see if he and Rachel are a true match, David performs a synchronization exercise that allows them to dance together and eventually kiss. Clearly against the rules, so we all know where this is headed. Also, the song that they use here is Where the Wild Roses Grow by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds featuring Kylie Minogue. The two of them become so close and infatuated with each other that they end up losing their restraint in front of the leaders. There's no way they didn't realize what they were doing. There's only so many people that they can't do that in front of, and they just went ahead and did it in front of the two they shouldn't. The two of them decide to make a break for the city during the hunt the following day. Soon after, we realize that the narration has been read to us from Rachel's journal this whole time. Once the leader finds it, she makes David dig his own grave. This leader woman is slowly becoming the best subtle villain I've seen in a while. The leader of the pack takes Rachel to a doctor to get eye surgery done so she'll no longer be short-sighted. She instead makes it so that she's blind completely. The big reveal for the twist is literally just 2 words too. Could this film be any drier in its presentation?
You can't see at all.
After a touching conversation where she tells David the truth about her eyes, they go through some trial and error for things they have in common, and he tries to help her get some of her senses well enough to survive. He tries to kiss her, but she denies him now to follow the rules. It's a little late to follow the rules. You're literally already blind. But David, being the smooth operator he is, comes up with a plan. David leaves the tribe leader in the grave she makes him dig, and he and Rachel stumble out of the forest. While the two of them are sitting at a diner, David takes a steak knife into the bathroom and plans to make himself blind just like Rachel's character. Watching David hold a steak knife to his eye for that long set anxiety all through my body. Just do it already. But then again, what would this society do with 2 blind runaways? No, don't do it. And just like I've said throughout, don't ask questions. Considering I just watched a film about a world where single people are turned into animals if they're single for too long, I've got more questions now than when we started. But somehow, I enjoyed that immensely. I hope you enjoyed the video, and by all means, watch the film for yourself. There's something there for everyone. If you did like it, leave a like on the video and suggest what I should watch next. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.